It's time to revisit some of the best PK budget setups that we've used. Now let's get into it. Now the first budget setup we ever used cost us around 200 to 300k, depending where and how many runes or bolts you're bringing. And in this case it was 190, I guess 290k, because we did start PKing in the Revenant Caves. In this setup, there's upgrades that you can make, such as the Mystic Air Staff, which I recommend because this sort of adds a third layer of attack to your attack styles. Now you can add in Staff Bashes due to the strength bonus that it has. However, this will cost you an extra 25k as opposed to the Staff of Air. Now in this next budget PK setup, it's about double what we did have in our previous setup, but here we start to really have some durability as well as some actual damage with our staff as well as the Tome of Fire. From here, I suggest you make certain upgrades such as Barrow's Gloves if you have them, as well as a Lunar Ring, Beacon Ring, or I guess even a Warrior's Ring. It's also recommended to put on some Mage Arena 2 capes because this not only gives you more magic damage, but as well as attack and durability against opponents. This next PK setup is when we really start to become actual PKers. In the last setups, we were really good at hunting PVMers, but now we have a proper +1, being the Armadyl Godsword, and this is going to cost not too much. It's about 11 mil, so even new PKers, after you kill PVMers for a couple weeks, you should be able to afford this. Because of our proper special attack weapon being the Armadyl Godsword, our risk increases from about 700 to 800k to now 1.8 mil. And with certain renditions and upgrades of this setup, your risk value can be anywhere from 3 mil or below. And if you're feeling extra risky and want even more KO potential, I recommend using a Granite Maul alongside your Armadyl Godsword. This will increase your risk to about 2.6 mil from 1.8 mil. You can also make renditions to this setup by bringing a heavy ballista instead of a tank shield and rune crossbow. This should increase your DPS, and because of that, I also like to bring an Ancient Godsword, which is quite a bit more money than an Armadyl Godsword, but it's really fun to use. And this Ancient Godsword into Ballista combo is really something to be feared. Sorry to catch you off guard, but if any of my videos have ever helped you and you've been thinking of trying a meal subscription plan, I'd greatly appreciate if you used our Factor 75 link for 60% off. This is my main hunting setup for both PVMers and bots, because Dragon Claws into a Granite Maul followed up with a Leaf-Bladed Battle Axe is just too consistent damage. Here are some notable upgrades in this setup: Occult Necklace, Brimstone Boots, Blessed Spirit Shield. New total. This next setup I mainly use when I'm hunting PKers, and this is a simple AGS-Maul. We're using essentially the same gear as last time, except our special attack weapon as well as some differences in food. The AGS-Maul is good for PKers even though it's not as consistent as, say, a Claw-Maul. We're not looking for consistency, we're looking for chances. And with an AGS-Maul, you're more likely to surprise your opponent. Same upgrades as last time: Spirit Shield, Occult, Boots. Here's a gear rendition, here's another. This last setup can be used for both hunting PVMers as well as PKing, and is the upgraded version of what we went over earlier. What I like about this setup is with the Ancient Godsword and an 8 Brute setup, you can easily survive a full teleblock if needed. Because over the course of a full fight, you should get 3 special attacks off, which equates to 1 entire brew, making it in total a 9 brew setup. Not many people can kill you with 9 brews. Here's one inventory rendition. Here's yet another rendition of the inventory. And the last rendition. As always, feel free to make any upgrades to jewelry or boots, such as the Occult Necklace, Brimstone Boots, or maybe even a Seers Ring. Some other upgrades you might want to incorporate to any of these PK setups would be Blessed D'Hide and or a Varak Plate Skirt. Now for some expensive upgrades that you might want to wear, but keep in mind they do cost a lot of money. This is about 2 mil, 4 mil, and this is about 6 mil. This is the setup that I really like to use when I'm above 30 wilderness looking to fight other maxers or other mystic warriors. As you can see, this setup is a bit more tanky with the Varak's plate skirt as well as a crystal shield. while also having good KO potential with the AGS into the Granite Maul. Or you can replace the Granite Maul to save some money as well as give yourself another eat. But I don't recommend this, as I think it's better to go for one really big chance with the AGS-Maul rather than going for 2 AGS specs at different points in times. This is because in this setup you're trying to go for a really good KO and then just trying to dip right away. While it looks like we have a lot of food, others have 9 to 11 brews, as well as have an Ancient God Sword, so it's not even worth it trying to outlast your opponent. And for that reason, I really don't recommend you use an Ancient God Sword unless you're really, really good and you're just going to outlast your opponents. Optional items to upgrade with would once again be a Seer's Ring, this time's a Torag's Helm, if you want, as well as a Blessed Spirit Shield, again, if you want. At this point, if you realize you're not really getting too many kills with your special attack and KO potential, then I would suggest to maybe sell it and go for a Toxic Staff instead. This is a lot more consistent. Venom mixed with the constant DPS of a Dragon Dagger and other weapons, you're most likely going to get the kill. At some point, the Venom is going to hit like 20s, and with that Venom, you can either go for a stack out or eventually they will just die. Now, what I also like to do in this setup is, as you can see, we have 17% mage damage. We can increase our DPS while also decreasing our tankiness simply by putting on an Occult Necklace. And that combined with the Venom, there's no chance of our opponent and PVMers escaping us. Not to mention the melee strength that we have with the Toxic Staff, so you can just bash people to death if needed. This setup that we're in is relatively similar to our last, except we're rocking a rune crossbow instead of a javelin, as well as dragon boots and a warrior's ring. This is because we're predominantly going to be staff bashing our opponents to death, as well as hitting them with Avernic DDSs. This is my absolute go-to when I can't get any kills at all. Now, if you're still struggling to get kills, it's probably because you didn't watch these videos.